Did you know that nearly half of all retirees don't actually get to choose when they retire? You know, it's not exactly a compliment to be called a control freak, but let's face it, aren't we all just a little bit of a control freak? You know, we all want to feel like we have some control over our lives, and we go to great lengths to plan for the future. I mean, that's why my industry exists, to help people plan for a specific set of assumptions. And there's other things that we do too. You know, we do preventative care at the doctor to avoid future health issues. We wear seat belts in case we get in an accident. You know, people like me, I set out clothes the night before because I know I don't make good choices about what to wear when I'm half asleep. And all of this we do as a way to create a sense of security and control. It's human nature for us to want to feel prepared. And these small actions give us confidence to face whatever comes our way. But despite all of our planning, life has a way of surprising us, doesn't it? Sometimes we don't have as much control as we thought we did. And that can be a wake-up call. You know, in one area where surprises are particularly common is choosing when we're going to retire. And for many, retirement doesn't happen exactly like we had planned out. Now, the reason I'm talking about this today is a phone call that I had with a prospective client. You know, while most of the people we talk to are already detail-oriented people, this guy took it to a whole new level. He had everything about his retirement mapped out. You know, he had thought of all the contingencies, but the one that he hadn't fully thought out was, what happens if I have to retire earlier than expected? Because of his role and the way things were at the moment, he thought for sure that he was in control of the timing of his retirement. And now we were on the phone, and he had just found out that his entire department was being eliminated. And it wrecked his world. He wasn't just rattled, he was scared, and you could hear it in his voice. Now, it didn't actually wreck his world. Once we got into the planning, everything was going to be fine. But at first, he was a train wreck. And I can tell you, he's not the only one this happens to. Let me show you some of the statistics from the Employee Benefit Research Institute. Nearly half, 46% of retirees leave the workforce earlier than they had planned, while 68% of current workers expect to retire at 65 or later. Only 31% of actual retirees managed to do that. And while the median expected retirement age is 65, the actual median retirement age is 62. Now, that's quite the gap between expectations of retirement and what actually happens. So what's going on? Well, there's a few common reasons why people retire earlier than they had planned, according to this data. First, about 35% of early retirees stop working because they figured out they could afford to retire. Now, that's certainly the ideal scenario, right? Retiring on your own terms. But then second, health problems or disability affected another 35%. So the same number of people that were able to retire early had to retire early because of health or disability reasons. And then last, about 30% of retirees were forced to retire earlier than they expected because of company changes or downsizing like layoffs or mergers. You know, statistics like these certainly show why it's important to put your plan through some stress testing and plan for the unexpected. Even if your ideal retirement age is 65, life might have other plans. And being prepared for those possibilities can make all the difference. So how do you plan for something that you can't predict? Well, you need to have a backup plan. You know, if you're within a few years of retirement, it's time to get serious about planning. I would not wait until a year before your expected retirement. If you're 5 years out, I'd start getting this mapped out and look at what happens if you have to retire earlier than you want to. And there's a couple of different ways you can do this. So first, you can use a DIY tool like Bolden, which used to be called New Retirement. And you can map out multiple scenarios, and it's going to give you a clearer picture of your retirement readiness. After you plug in your numbers, you can see the probability of success, see your estimates on taxes throughout your retirement, see what your average withdrawal rate is, and there's a whole lot more that's in there as well. And if you want to use Bolden, there's a link down below where you can sign up for a free trial. And if you use that link, I'll send you a free digital copy of my book, Social Security Basics. Now, If you either don't want to do that on your own or you just want to dive in deeper than Bowden can, you could hire a financial planner. But if you go this route, please hear me on this. Just be sure it's an actual financial planner who knows their craft and isn't just using software as a tool to sell you something. But whichever option you choose, the important thing is to get started. Don't wait until you're forced to retire earlier than expected to figure things out, because with the right planning, you could still have a great retirement, even if it happens earlier than you want it to. So if you found this video helpful, be sure to like it, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your stories about early retirement. And then you can just tell me down there, what's your ideal retirement age? And are you ready for the unexpected? All right, guys, thanks so much for watching.